welcome to Edison Open House Global Healthcare 2021. In this session, we're going to be looking at the work of Ultimovacs, a Norwegian company developing novel immunotherapies for cancer. I'm joined by their CEO, Carlos de Sousa. Carlos, hello. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
So let's start with some of the basics first. You're working in immunotherapy, so the point of immunotherapy is to make visible those cells, those cancer cells that are invisible and that the immune system somehow can't see. And you've developed what you call a universal cancer vaccine. So tell us what that is and what does it offer that other immunotherapies don't offer it, which in a space which is really quite crowded.
No, absolutely. And I will try to explain it. There are different reasons why we call the vaccine universal. But before I get to that detail, let me, if I explain what we target, our mechanism of action, that will help understand a little bit better. So we target telomerase. And telomerase is an enzyme that only exists in adults in cancer cells. The telomeres are the tips of the chromosomes. And in the normal cells, as the cells divide, the telomeres get thinner and thinner and the cells die. But the cancer cells have telomerase. So they basically rebuild the telomeres and they become immortal cells. So that's how, the preferred mechanism of cancer cells to gain immortality. So telomerase. And the telomerase is expressed in 85 to 90% of the cancer cells. And
so any cancer cell that's got telomerase, that is much more likely to be a cancer cell than it is a normal cell.
Absolutely. So it's very specific to cancer cells. When we are growing up, of course, we have other cells, stem cells, but these are in a compartment. So these are specific to cancer cells. And so the beauty of this target is because the cancer cells select telomerase as their immortality mechanism, regardless of the type of tumor. So you can have cancer, skin cancer, lung cancer, ovarian cancer, different types of tumors. As long as the cancer cells select telomerase, they will express it from the beginning to the end. And regardless of if it's in the early stages of the disease or the advanced stages of the disease. Because if they stop expressing telomerase, then they will as they multiply, they will die. The other key advantage, and that is another benefit for what we call universal, is that the cancer cells will express telomerase in the whole mass of the tumor, the primary tumor or the metastasis. So we call it that basically cancer cells express in space and in time telomerase. So for us is a very good target because then, we basically light up these cells to the immune system so that they recognize much easier the cancer cells expressing telomerase. So that's one of the reasons why we say that we have a universal cancer vaccine. So we can be used in a multitude of cancer types, regardless of what is the type of cancer. The other big advantage is that we don't need to do any matching with the patients. All patients can be treated with the vaccine. Another big advantage, because you are familiar with the space, and we started talking about the crowded space of the immuno-oncology, and I'm talking here particularly of the primers, the different substances that prime the immune system, is that we are an off-the-shelf product. So this is just an intradermal injection, much easier than a lot of other approaches, and it's ready to be administered whenever needed. So these are very key advantages when you want to treat patients. The product is available to be administered when needed. It's just an intradermal injection, does not need any specific technology. and it's also easy to manufacture. So when you put all these different components together, we really consider that we have a universal cancer vaccine that has the potential in the future to even move to earlier stages of the disease, and particularly with our second platform, be even prevention.
Which is extraordinary. But for the moment, your strategy is really for use with other drugs at a rather later stage of cancer. Would you like to explain your strategy there and the types of cancer that you're targeting?
No, absolutely. As you know, we are on the primer side. On the other side, you have the drugs that basically open up the tumor to the immune system. Very important, particularly in the advanced stages of the disease. So here you have the well-known, for instance, checkpoint inhibitors, the pembrolizumab, nivolumab, and other type of anti-PD-1, anti-PD-L1s. So, and it's very important to have the combination, because, we train the immune system then and the immune cells to attack the cancer cells. But if they cannot penetrate the tumor, then, you cannot get the effect. So you need this other class of drugs that basically open up the tumor because they block the defenses from the cancer cells. So you really have the synergistic effect from both sides. The checkpoint inhibitors need immune cells that are specifically trained to attack the cancer cells, and we and the primers need these tumors to be accessible to the cancer, to the tumor, to the immune cells.
So a team effort there. But what particular cancers are you targeting?
Well, in that, with that ambition of really showing that we have this kind of a universal approach, so we are now in phase 2. So we have 3 phase 1 studies that are already concluded. We just had recently 5-year survival, follow-up for survival. So one of those studies was in prostate cancer, another one in non-small cell lung cancer. The third phase 1 study is in malignant melanoma. The first 2 was as a mono, the third one in combination with ipilimumab. Again, as I mentioned, those are in 5-year survival. We have another study that we closed enrollment last year in combination with pembrolizumab in phase 1 in malignant melanoma, and we have now 4 phase 2 studies. The lead one in malignant melanoma is in combination with ipilimumab and nivolumab as a comparative study, and we started enrollment June of last year. We have a second study in mesothelioma that, as you know, it's not a frequent cancer, but very tough to treat.
And its primary causes is usually asbestos.
Asbestos, yeah. Absolutely. So, and unfortunately, still you still have a lot of it. That one we also combine with ipilimumab and nivolumab, and it's a network led by the Oslo University Hospital with some European countries and Australia that has a lot of asbestos. In that study, we provide our vaccine, and Bristol Myers Squibb provides ipilimumab and nivolumab. So it's a collaboration of us, Bristol Myers, and the investigators. And that study also started enrolling in June of last year. At the end of 2020, we announced another collaboration, in this one in head and neck cancer, in combination with pembrolizumab. This one is ran in Germany by a specialized network of centers. So you see the kind of the trend, different cancer types and different combinations. And we also announced at beginning of January a 4th phase 2 study in ovarian cancer in combination now with the different classes, durvalumab, that is a PD-L1, but also olaparib, that is a PARP inhibitor. In this case, we have a collaboration with AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca provides olaparib and durvalumab. We provide UV1, and this study is ran by a very important group in Europe, that is the ENGOT network, that is the European Network of Gynecological Oncology Trials, led by the president of the ENGOT, Dr. Mansour, that is in Denmark. So 4 clinical trials, different indications, different combination with different classes, and that is basically what we want to show, that we can be used in different types of cancer and in combination with different classes.
So what are the milestones that investors should be looking out for over the next 12 months? And because, of course, these are all clinical trials, how is that going to be affected by COVID? I mean, I know the Nordics have been slightly less affected than some other parts of Europe, but it seems to me that COVID is still pretty resurgent.
Yes, it is. Yes, Norway, has been particularly protected, but of course we have, we have these studies running in several European countries, Australia, the US. So far, yes, we see some impact from COVID. I think was particularly, in the spring, the beginning, where, hospitals didn't know how to prepare themselves. So they are basically closing the centers to deal with COVID. But of course, cancer patients need to be treated. So countries, hospitals have adapted. So we see some impact, but so far, I think we haven't seen a big impact. Of course, we don't know what is going to come, but that is, we are in the same boat as all the pharma and biotechs running clinical trials. Talking about what is going to come in the next 12, 18 months, these phase 4, phase 2 studies, of course, are going to read towards the end of 2022, 23. But during this year, we are going to have the further follow-up data from the study that we have in combination with pembrolizumab in malignant melanoma. And we are also initiating this quarter a phase 1 study for safety with the first product coming out of our second platform that is very innovative, first in class, where, as you know, vaccines normally are administered with adjuvant. For UV1, that is our lead product, we use GM-CSF, that is a standard adjuvant. Our second platform, basically the molecule contains already the adjuvant and peptides. So a very clear benefit. So we are also going to start that phase 1 study, and we expect to add safety from that study towards the end of the year. And that is going to be very important to then drive the development of the next products coming from that platform. So you see that, within the next 12 to 24 months, we are going to have also significant pieces of data. Of course, the big ones are the results, the first results from the phase 2 studies.
Now, what's your partnership strategy? Because you were talking about, partnering with various companies in development, but is this something where you would be manufacturing yourself? Is it something that you would, if it was successful, you would be partnering with another company? Where are you thinking of in that regard?
Well, we are thinking that the right time will be after we get the phase 2 data. And that's how we are preparing ourselves. So we have the envious position that we are quite well financed. We basically are financed to run these 4 phase 2 studies until we get the top line results. And this it means that, the idea is to build a package that then is attractive for a potential partner. This means the data from these 4 phase 2 studies. We are also investing significantly in the production commercial process to produce the vaccine, to be ready at the same time. So we have a complete package to offer to a potential partner. So the idea, of course, as you can imagine, with this broad potential that we can use the vaccine, it's impossible for a biotech to maximize the value. But that's the idea, that we are doing everything. So when we have the data from these phase 2 studies, and if the data, of course, is positive, we have all the pieces in place to be discussing a strategic partnership with any of these big players. Of course, in this case, we already are in touch with AstraZeneca and BMS, because it's an extensive process for them to even collaborate and supply the drugs. But we are open to be then discussing with different potential partners, and that's the key goal. But of course, we are prepared to continue if that is the required.
So that's a great advantage of being a Norwegian company. Norwegian innovation funds are very generous. But I just wondered, how much cash runway do you have, and what's your plan, what's your strategy for funding the company?
Well, we at the end of Q3 we have about 45 million euros in cash. So this gives us, again, a runway towards the top line results of these studies. So we are talking about, somewhere end of 22, 23. So what is a very good place to be for a biotech. Of course, we have the projects coming out from our second platform coming up. So at some point in time, like all biotechs, we will be most probably raising some capital, but at the moment, we are in a good position.
Just before we leave this, tell me a bit more about your second platform.
So the second platform, I can only give you some information because we are filing a series of patents. But basically, what we do is we use the response that we all have to the tetanus vaccine. So we have a core of the vaccine. Think about as a puzzle where you have a core, and then you can combine it, add different peptides, for instance. So you can target different types of cancers. Inclusive, you can not only in cancer, but you can also go to infectious diseases. And so the benefit is that this core provides you the adjuvant effect, but they are going to be combined in one molecule, much easier to administer, and also we expect and hopefully show will be safer to use. And this is a big benefit, because if this is confirmed, as we have from preclinical studies, then this opens the space that you can move earlier in the treatment. And again, as I said, particularly in risk groups, to go into prophylaxis. Because at the moment, GM-CSF has some side effects, so it's not a product that you want to use in healthy people, even if they are at risk, as a prophylaxis as vaccine. But if we have this technology, we can use it much broader, from early stages to late stages. So there are several benefits that, and it's totally new, innovative, and first in class.
Carlos, you've only recently become the CEO of Ultimovacs in 2020, and what a year to join any company. What's your feeling, having joined the company in 2021, about its future? How optimistic are you?
I'm quite optimistic. Of course, biotech is always a risk because we have to deliver on data. And that's basically the focus of the team is delivering the data. But I'm quite optimistic for different reasons. When I was considering this opportunity, and again, I've been in the industry for many years, I always look at projects where I think I can make a difference and an impact. And this company checked different boxes. It's an innovative science, has already data showing that, it's safe and there is some efficacy. Very important for me, is the project, if it succeeds, going to make a significant impact in patients' lives? Because as a physician is something that is very important for me, and that this is the case, as I think I was able to demonstrate, if we have the data, this is going to make a significant impact. And also, that the company is solidly financed and supported by a core group of investors that have a long-term perspective and support the management in implementing the plan. And basically the company checked all those boxes. So, everything is in place. Now we need, of course, to make sure that the studies continue running and that we get the data, but that's the risk for all biotechs. And hopefully that the COVID situation will resolve for everybody as individuals, but also, of course, for patients, because that is clear that even if the health professionals and hospitals are trying to make sure, particularly with cancer patients, that treatments are not delayed, is still having an impact. And we want that, of course, not to happen for their benefit of the health, but also so that our studies can proceed.
Well, I wish you every success in the coming year. Carlos, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Vivienne. It was a pleasure.